This week we are going to meet Sharon and Jack, the directors of two UK initiatives, Sharon from Solutions Not Sides and Jack from Oasis of Peace UK. Both organisations bring Palestinians and Israelis to the UK, into schools, universities and institutions to talk about their lives in an area of conflict. Sharon starts by pointing out that the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is being hijacked in the UK for different agendas.
If you just look up in this far left-hand corner of your screen, I guess. So some groups are kind of claiming in the name of religion, but using it for political purposes, that there's like a war or a conflict between Muslims and the West, and they kind of exploit the Israel-Palestine issue as a microcosm of that, and kind of distort the narratives to make it about that. On the other side of that coin, we've got in the centre here, you can see a guy from an organisation in Britain. It's a grassroots movement. It's called the English Defence League. So we've seen many of them sort of waving Israeli flags and saying that they support Israel. Again, with a very simplistic idea that Israel is the last frontier of defence against some kind of oncoming caliphate. So it's kind of conspiracy theories. On the far left, sometimes you'll see anti-capitalist demonstrators will be waving Palestinian flags or wearing a Palestinian scarf or keffiyeh. And that can, again, play into conspiracy theories about Israel being connected to capitalism and so on. We see Northern Ireland, so in the bottom corner of the screen down here, you will quite often see people on this kind of Catholic Irish side waving Palestinian flags as well as Irish flags. We've also seen unionists in Northern Ireland waving Israeli flags, or you can see up here on a flagpole, the British flags and the Israeli flag. So again, conflating two different issues and making this issue about their own political positions. Some of the grassroots movements down here. So we even saw Brexiteers, as we call them here, or people who voted for Brexit. They were waving Israeli flags occasionally at some of their rallies. And then you will have probably heard in the media about the recent scandal about anti-Semitism in the Labour Party. Some of the criticism around that has been that if you can see here at a Labour Party conference, you can see a lot of Palestinian flags being waved. So this very particular issue is being brought out to the forefront of a more general political party situation.
And now we hear from Jack, who spoke at a TalkMatters webinar about the challenges when working in the UK on Palestinian-Israeli issues. Here Jack talks about the cultural challenges.
When I was thinking about the challenges that we're facing today in this field, I kind of grouped them into three types: economic challenges, political challenges, and what I'll call cultural challenges. The economic and the political can be dealt with quite quickly, I think, and they could equally be applied to those working in areas other than Israel-Palestine. But it's the kind of third group that concerns me most and that I'll talk about most, what I call the cultural challenges. Explain what I mean by this. I mean the culture that surrounds discussion of Israel-Palestine in the UK. It's a very important topic. It's my kind of obsession. It's also a topic, I think, of surprisingly high national importance. By national, I mean British. This can often really surprise observers from other countries, not least Israel. And if you told me 10 or so years ago when I first started working on this topic, that Israel-Palestine would become one of the most kind of potent symbols for wider culture wars, for want of a better term, in the UK, then I too would have been very surprised. If you told me then it would tear apart one of the two biggest political parties in this country, for example, play a huge part in its most recent electoral defeat, I wouldn't have believed you again. The proportion of the UK which is actively interested in Israeli-Palestinian matters, to the extent that they're prepared to give time or money, it's obviously relatively small. For most Britons, and this is a big generalization, but Israel and Palestine are, quoting Chamberlain, faraway countries of which we know little. Bizarrely, however, despite this fact, Israel-Palestine is actually a huge issue in British political, small p political life. Why? Because even though the interested group is small in numerical terms, its members are obsessional when it comes to Israel-Palestine. It's a really big priority for them. Superficially, this might sound like no bad thing for those of us working in the field, right? I work in what should be a niche issue, and yet you have a disproportionately large pool of interested people. However, and this is the key point, of that population of interested people, engaged people, the proportion of them who approach the issues with nuance, who are open to dialogue, who are committed to hearing both narratives and to the national well-being of both Israeli Jews and Palestinians, in other words, those people who are constructive, is, in my opinion, tiny.
Thank you for watching this short clip. We have more inspirational speakers joining us for our regular webinars. Visit talkmatters.info to meet other speakers, to join our mailing list, and come along to our next live webinars.